It is 9 in the evening, and she has finally settled into the quiet she needed all day. A blanket pulled close, the screen of her phone face down on the armrest. Closes her eyes, but the unfinished email she left at work reopens a tiny window in her mind. She had started typing it at 4 o'clock, then stopped to take a call and never returned. Now the half-written sentence sits behind her eyelids, more persistent than any finished task from the entire day. The obvious answer is that she should have finished the email, and now she pays the price. But the explanation begins to crack when you notice that the same thing happens with a paused story, a half-solved puzzle, or a song cut off before its last note. A waiter in a busy café once held a secret that would reshape how psychologists understand this gnawing sensation. Zeigarnik noticed that waiters could remember long lists of unpaid orders with remarkable accuracy. The moment the bill was paid and the meal was over, the details vanished as if they had never existed. Something about a task left open kept the memory alive. Closure erased the need to remember. Zeigarnik designed an experiment to test this observation. Participants were given a series of simple tasks, puzzles, stringing beads, solving riddles, and were interrupted before they could finish some of them. Later, when asked to recall the tasks, they remembered the interrupted ones far more often than the completed ones. The Zeigarnik effect was named. The mind's tendency to hold on to unfinished tasks with a grip that completed tasks do not require. It is not a flaw of memory. It is a way of keeping important goals alive. Think of it like a quiet hum that marks open files on your mental desktop, waiting for you to return. The woman on the couch is not weak. She is experiencing a basic mechanism of human cognition. And that mechanism has a purpose. Unfinished tasks contain potential energy that has not yet been released. Completed tasks can be filed away. Interrupted tasks keep their shape and demand a return. The mental tension is like a rubber band that remains stretched until the task is brought to a close. Yet the mind does not treat every unfinished task identically. A chore you never cared about may leave no trace, while a task that felt almost finished will ring for hours. Research found that the Zeigarnik effect is strongest when the interruption feels unexpected and the goal still matters to you. If you were already planning to quit or the task felt meaningless, the tension may not arise. The woman had been determined to send that email before the end of the day. Her own investment set the mental hook. This is why cliffhangers work so powerfully. The story halts right as the tension peaks. Your mind cannot simply let go of the unresolved narrative. It keeps the question alive until you get an answer. But here, the effect begins to reveal a shadow side. The same mechanism that helps you remember to finish your work can become an intrusive roommate. When the mind cannot distinguish between a task you will complete tomorrow and one that is truly unresolved, every open loop becomes a demand. Psychologists describe this as a state of heightened activation. Unfinished goals, even when left quietly aside, occupy a kind of standby mode in the mind. They remain partly primed, ready to spring back into attention whenever your current focus weakens. You can feel this when you try to read a book, but the failed conversation from lunch keeps replaying. Your brain is not choosing to torture you. It is trying to hold on to an unresolved social goal. In one set of studies, people who were interrupted during a puzzle performed worse on a subsequent unrelated task because their mental resources were still partly allocated to the unfinished puzzle. The open loop steals a portion of your working memory, even when you are not consciously thinking about it. Now consider the woman on the couch. She cannot relax because part of her mind still holds the email as an active file. The more she tries to push it away, the more her brain notices the discrepancy between her intention to finish and the current inactivity. That discrepancy creates a motivational pressure. The mind wants to close the gap. The Zeigarnik effect is not just about remembering better. It is about feeling the unfinished task as a kind of cognitive itch. But the intensity of this itch can be shaped by how we handle the interruption. Something remarkable happens when we make a concrete plan to finish a task later. Researchers have found that writing down a specific intention, like, "I will complete the email tomorrow at 9 a.m. in my office," can reduce the intrusive thoughts significantly. The mind seems to treat a clear plan as a partial form of closure. The rubber band does not snap, but it loosens a little, giving back some of that stolen attention. This is not simply making a to-do list. It is specifying the when and where. The uncertainty about when you will return to the task is partly what fuels the nagging feeling. Once the uncertainty is resolved, the mind can file the task under pending but scheduled, rather than urgently incomplete. But not all open loops can be scheduled so neatly, and that is where the effect can carry a cost. Unfinished emotional conversations or ambiguous relationships may never have a tidy closure date. And here, the Zeigarnik effect can keep wounds from healing, replaying unresolved moments as if they were tasks waiting for completion. The same mechanism that helps you remember to pick up milk can also replay a friendship that ended without explanation. The mind is not always good at separating a solvable task from an unresolvable hurt. But for the daily tasks that fill our work and personal lives, the effect offers a choice. You can let the undone email run an uninvited loop in your head all evening, or you can give your mind a clear signal that it will be handled. And that signal does not require finishing the task right now. Think about what that means for the woman on the couch. It was her mind carrying out an intended goal that life had interrupted. She had made a promise to herself to send it, and the interruption never canceled that inner commitment. The intrusive repetition was, in a strange way, a mark of responsibility. But responsibility untethered from a plan becomes as a burden. The mind will keep pulling the thread until it feels that the fabric of the day is back on track. The central reversal is this: the distress does not come from the unfinished task alone. It comes from the unresolved intention attached to it. The grip loosens when you clarify how and when you plan to return, not when the task is done. This is not a trick. It is a direct intervention on the cognitive tension that powers the Zeigarnik effect. In studies on implementation intentions, people who formed specific plans experienced fewer intrusive thoughts about their unfinished goals and performed better on subsequent tasks. They had not completed the goal, but they had closed the uncertainty loop. She writes, "Tomorrow, 8:15, finish the client update before the first meeting." She places the phone back down, and something in the quality of the darkness behind her eyes feels lighter. The loop has not fully silenced, but the urgency has been translated into a scheduled appointment. Her brain, which moments ago was treating the email as an abandoned crisis, now registers it as a planned task for tomorrow. The open file did not need to be finished. It needed to be trusted. That trust is not just an emotional comfort. It is a cognitive shift that can be measured in reduced mental load. The Zeigarnik effect reveals an active, intelligent organizer inside us, one that was never designed to be silenced, only to be updated. When we update it with a specific intention, it can stop its alarm. This does not mean you should never finish anything. It means the torment of the unfinished is not compulsory. You can learn to distinguish a problem that needs solving from a problem that needs scheduling. And that distinction, simple as it sounds, can be the difference between a night stolen by guilt and a night that returns to rest. Now the woman's breathing steadies. The email is still unwritten, but the intention to finish it has a container. Her mind, which had been scanning for incomplete loops like a lighthouse beam in fog, has found a new signal. Tomorrow, 8:15. The cognitive grip eases because the goal state has shifted from abandoned to planned. This principle extends far beyond the couch and the email. A student worrying about an exam can write down a detailed study schedule, not just study more. A son whose call to his mother got interrupted can set a reminder for the next day, easing the nagging guilt. A creator stuck on a half-finished project can write down the next tiny step, open the document after breakfast, instead of carrying the whole project like a phantom limb. The Zeigarnik effect feeds on vagueness. It starves on specificity, because a resolved intention is like a released breath. The tension that was holding the task in the spotlight can finally exhale. Of course, there will always be tasks that resist scheduling, or hurts that will never have a clear resolution. In those cases, recognizing the effect can at least soften the self-blame. You are not failing, you are responding to a normal cognitive demand. And sometimes, simply naming the unfinished business as what it is, an open loop, can reduce its power. The woman closes her eyes again, and this time the half-written sentence is a thread in a future tapestry, not a splinter in the present. She has not escaped the undone. She has given it its rightful place. The mind, it turns out, can rest beside what is unfinished, as long as it knows the work is waiting with a name and a time.